described as a superstar, and she got nothing but rave reviews. And what is most impressive to me, those rave reviews came from all points of the compass. We are a diverse state, ideologically, geologically, ethnically, but every single point of the compass that we talked to about this justice said that she was just a rock star. So I could not be more happy about this. She's going to replace another champion of justice, Chief Justice Mary Fairhurst, who is retiring. We know that hers has been a remarkable legacy, includes a lifelong commitment to public service, and I know this justice will follow in those footsteps. Now, I do want to comment on who she is as a person and what her appointment means for the state. In the hallway outside of the courtroom hang the photographs and sketches of former justices. And most of them reflect a similar Washington story, a similar Washington perspective. But our current Supreme Court looks very different from those old photographs. It looks like Washington State. And today it looks even more like Washington State. And I could be no more pleased than to provide this diverse voice that this justice will bring. And the more I talk to people in the judicial system, the more they tell me that to build trust in our system, to have people of diverse backgrounds is very important. And we are again taking another step forward in the state of Washington in this regard. So I know she's going to serve well because she brings intellectual humility, courage, and conviction, and personal commitment to improving access to justice for all of our communities. And I look forward to her professional work. I give you soon-to-be Justice Montoya-Lewis.
Thanks everyone for being here. I want to thank Governor Inslee for the honor of this appointment. It's a great privilege and responsibility to sit on this bench with these extraordinary justices. I look forward to working with each of them as we work together to develop the law and to serve the state of Washington. I'm very honored to take the seat of Chief Justice Mary Fairhurst, though I know I will never replace her. I am very saddened by her retirement and deeply hopeful that my appointment can honor her incredible contributions to our state. I was raised to remember that I come from those who survived. My ancestors on both sides of my family survived genocide, survived institutional boarding schools, survived attempts to eradicate their culture. And yet, as my father reminded me often, we survived. And I am here because of their resilience, their courage, their intelligence, and their deep commitment to what is just. For me, justice is not an abstract concept. Justice is a term of action. And I believe as judges and justices, we are called to do justice, to find the best possible answers to questions before us, and consider how those answers apply to the people whose lives are impacted by the decisions we will make on the Supreme Court. As a trial judge, I strove for the best answers to some of the hardest questions, and I did so attempting to balance the requirements of the law with the real lives of the people who came to the courts seeking resolution. I'm honored to bring that perspective to the Supreme Court, as well as the stories that helped me to formulate it. I want to thank the tribal and state court trial judges with whom I have worked over the years, all of whom strive to do their best work every day. Without their commitment to collegiality, I would have been lost. I also want to thank my family, my husband Colin, my sister Ruthie, and my children, all of whom supported this dream and believed in my ability to achieve it. I want to thank all the tribes, including my own, with whom I have worked over the years, who welcome me with open arms, great love, and lessons of a lifetime. And I want to thank the community of Whatcom County, which has supported me as a judge, as a community member, and as a mother and partner raising a young family in a small and welcoming community. And of course, all my friends who have been part of my success every step of the way and shown me where the light is in times of darkness. So today is a day of light. To be the first Native Supreme Court Justice for the state of Washington, and only the second Native Supreme Court Justice in any state in the history of our nation, brings with it great pressure and great honor. I look forward to serving every citizen of the state of Washington, and in so doing, do justice. Thank you.
Off to a great start. Let's see if you have any questions. You have fans.
And then
Yes,
to you.
please.
I'm very honored that Raquel Montoya-Lewis will be assuming position number 3 on the Washington State Supreme Court. 35 years ago, I was a law clerk here, and I clerked for Chief Justice William H. Williams, who occupied position number 3, and his successor, Justice William C. Goodloe, who occupied position number 3. Justice Charles E. Smith was appointed to take Justice Goodloe's position in position number 3. So I was very honored and actually surprised when I was elected to realize I was elected to position number 3. I can't tell you how proud I am that position number 3 will be held by Raquel Montoya-Lewis, the first Native American Justice of the Washington State Supreme Court. I know she will do a fabulous job because I have watched her career, and I know the difference she has already made in the state of Washington, not just in Whatcom County. And her commitment to equity and diversity and inclusiveness, and her concern that everyone have trust, that the public have trust and confidence in our judicial branch. I could not be more proud than I am today to have her standing here and to welcome her to the Washington State Supreme Court. I am only sad that I will not be able to serve with her because I know she will be an excellent justice. On January 6th, she will be sworn in as the new justice, and Debra Stephens will be sworn in as the new Chief Justice. You are all invited to attend here at the Temple of Justice. I expect a big turnout from Whatcom County, so come early. With that, I would like to return the podium to Governor Inslee, who will invite press questions.
By the way, before I take questions, I'd like to thank Catherine Leathers and Tip Wanhoff of our staff who did a super job of finding such talent. I want to thank our excellent Attorney General Bob Ferguson, who's in attendance, who's promised to keep his oral arguments very succinct in the presence of this new justice, in honor of the new justice, doing his great work for the citizens of the state. Happy to stand for questions of the justice or myself.
A question for the Justice Designate. I know as Superior Court Judge, you have taught implicit bias classes across the state to judges and court employees. Do you plan to continue that work as a justice?
Absolutely. I think that it's work that will continue well beyond the end of my career, and I hope that I will be in a position to continue to do that and to train others to do it as well.
What do you see as the biggest problem with implicit bias in the courts right now?
Well, I think the biggest hurdle is getting people to understand that we all bring biases to our decision making, that it's across the board. I do it, you do it, we all do. That's often in my trainings the first place we have to start, and to recognize that it's not something to be embarrassed about, it's something to recognize. So in terms of the legal system and in terms of working with judges, jurors, attorneys, I think that that issue has to begin by looking inward before we can begin to look at how those things impact us as a system.
Do you think the court system is more biased towards Native Americans?
That's a tricky question. I will say that the data shows that the Native people are disproportionately represented at every level of the judicial system, whether that's the criminal justice system, the child welfare system. At each level, we see higher numbers than we should.
Now that you're stepping into this new role, what sort of preparation are you doing to kind of get up to speed?
Well, I'm hoping to rely on my fellow soon-to-be justices to help guide me. I've spent a lot of time in the process of considering applying for this appointment, as well as in the application process, doing a great deal of reading, largely to look at what the trends have been in the state of in the Supreme Court, as well as what the threshold questions are that come to the court.
In the reading that you've done, what sort of trends have you seen? What sort of caught your eye?
I think one of the biggest issues that the court deals with is the power of the court and the separation of powers between each of the branches. I think that's a threshold question for Supreme Courts across the country, and that's something I've certainly seen, that tension and that question. And also the thing I would add is the way in which the legal system deals with evolving technology, where there's not clear law about how to handle issues related to access to electronic devices through search warrants, those kinds of questions.
I have a question back here. One of the first things you may take out when you take the court, and Attorney General Ferguson is here, is I-976 in the court. To take that jurisdiction on that, is this the proper venue to believe, and feel free to defer to your colleagues.
I think I'll defer to my colleagues by saying, since it's a matter that will be in front of the court, none of us should say anything about it at this point.
But nice try.
If anyone else wants to jump in here, you're welcome to.
What does being the first Native American mean to that community? And are you afraid there are some who are going to see this and say, that's the only reason she got this appointment?
People have said that about my success since I was in high school. So it's not going to be something new. A story I've told many times in public speeches is the first day of law school. I was at a law school gathering that was held by the dean, and I had someone come up to me who was in the first year class who I'd never met before. I thought she was coming to introduce herself, and she came up to me and said, "You're taking my best friend's seat." That was my introduction to law school. I absolutely expect that people will assume that that's the primary reason I'm here. I think my record says otherwise. I've been a judge for 20 years. My work has also included being a tenured professor at Western Washington University. I'm a scholar, I'm a writer, I'm a deep thinker, and I think that that speaks for itself, at least it should. In terms of what it means to the community, I've spent a lot of my career looking for role models and mentors that have stories like mine, and found very few. So I'm very hopeful that I can be a role model and mentor for the kids like I was that were looking for someone. But for me, the most important thing about being the first Native Supreme Court Justice in Washington is that I not be the last.
Could I add something to that? Thank you. Since I was the one to make this decision, let me just share my thinking on this. If anyone has those type of concerns, I ask them to call prosecuting lawyers, attorneys, defense lawyers, plaintiffs' lawyers, defense lawyers, city council people, people who have appeared before this judge, and you will find, as far as I could find, unanimity about who you'd want to try something that was very important in your life before, and it's this judge. And it's been an extraordinary process. We've gone through this selection process now 98 times. And I can just tell you, And I'm very proud of our appointments, but this has been unique at finding such a consensus of recognizing raw judicial talent, of both intellect and compassion in the ability to deal in the real world of the judicial system. I'm impressed in her answer, which we didn't go over, when she just talked to us about the challenges of integrating the new electronic data world into the judicial system. She's thought about these things. She's really a deep thinker about the long-term trends, both judicially and in society. So I can just tell you, as the person who made the decision, to me this was like drafting Michael Jordan and then finding out that he's a great baseball player too. And I think her heritage is important to the court. I mentioned this, when you talk to people about what will increase confidence in the system, it is seeing people in the system that share their experience. And I think this is one of the thousands of important experiences we have in the state of Washington. So this was icing on the cake, and I couldn't be more pleased.
Time for 2 more questions.
Can you speak a little bit? I noticed that you, in addition to having a law degree, have a master's in social work, and just how that has influenced your work in the law, how that influences your thinking and your approach to the law and the systems that affect vulnerable people.
In my first year of law school, I was very frustrated by the theoretical discussion of the law and the absence of a discussion about how the law impacted people. And I chose to get a master's in social work because that's where they were talking about the impact on people. The two things to me seem to go hand in hand. And it's been tremendously important to my career to have both of those things. As a tribal court judge, working with people, I typically worked with families who had multiple reasons to be in front of the court, and so I could look at that from a legal perspective, but I could look at it from a family systems perspective as well. And I brought that with me to the Superior Court bench as well. I've been presiding over our felony drug court for the last 2 years, and having the various skills I learned in my master's program and that I've applied since has been invaluable to being able to meet people where they are in that program and work with them towards their own success.
Similar question, but for your time as a chief judge on the tribal courts, how did that sort of shape your perspective and well, just shape your perspective about law and life and reality?
One of the things that I have enjoyed the most about working for tribal courts is that each tribe is unique. And so I always had an opportunity with every tribe that I worked with, whether I was in a full-time position like a chief judge position or I came in to do one case, because it gave me the opportunity to really learn the vast variability between our communities. And so that's something that has given me a lot to think about as someone who teaches on implicit bias, because I think the idea that if you know something about, for example, I know something about my own community, the Pueblo of Isleta, that does not mean that I know anything about Swinomish. And so having had that opportunity has allowed me to think about that in terms of other communities and how, as a system, we work with them.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Justice, for serving. Soon to be Justice.